All right, now we're moving on to examples C and D of multiplying complex numbers. So C1, I gave you 2 minus 3i squared, okay? Whenever I see this square, I need to know I have to write it twice. What we absolutely will not do is just square the 2 and square the 3i. We will not, because that would be wrong. We're not wrong. So what we want to do, whenever we see that it is squared, I need to write it twice. Write it twice, because squared means that it's multiplied by itself, right? So this is really a 2 minus 3i times another 2 minus 3i. All right? And I'm going to FOIL, just like I did on the last problems. So I will start with my first number, and I will multiply it by the first number in the second set of parentheses. So 2 times 2 is 4. And then 2 times negative 3i is negative 6i. All right, now it is time for the negative 3i. So the negative 3i gets multiplied by the 2 and gives me another negative 6i. And then lastly, the negative 3i gets multiplied by another negative 3i. The double negative makes it a positive 9, and the I times I makes it an I squared. All right? Hopefully you guys can see this orange. So the I squared, we have talked about that before. I thought about it in my think bubble. I said I squared is actually negative 1, and it's just going to change the sign. So this positive 9i squared is really just a negative 9. And that negative 9 will combine with the 4. So if I have 4 and I take away 9, I've got negative 5. And then I will combine my i's. They do not cancel out because they're not opposite signs. If I had negative 6 and I took away 6 more, I have negative 12 i's. And that is my answer. So when we square, we just have to write it twice. C2 is a star for you, and I'm going to move on to example D. In example D, I'm introducing some square roots. All right? Same deal though. I see that it's squared, so I need to write it twice. It's squared, I can write it twice, or since there aren't two parts, this isn't a binomial. In this case, when it's all multiplied together, there's nothing separating it, no plus or minus separating it. We could just square each piece. But, all right, let's think of this as a negative 5i in the square root of 5 times another negative 5i in the square root of 5. Okay? So if I'm thinking of it like that, the negative 5 gets multiplied by the negative 5, which gives me a positive 25, right? My I will multiply with my I, and that'll give me I squared, okay? And then our square root, the square root of 5, will multiply with the other square root of 5. Since they're both inside the house, they can play together. That'll give me the square root of 25. All right, so let's simplify this. This is a 25 times I squared, we know, is a negative 1. So times a negative 1. And the square root of 25, we know, is the number 5. It is the whole number 5. So I have 25 times negative 1 times 5. That would give me, the 25 times the 5 will multiply, and my final answer would be a negative 125. All right, so that's one way we could do it. The other way is what I was mentioning here, because there is no separation with the minus or plus, because this is a monomial, all of these things are being multiplied together, I could just square each piece. I could have my negative 5 squared, I could have my I squared, and I could have my square root of 5 squared. And if I thought of it that way, the negative 5 squared would become a positive 25. I squared will become a negative 1. And if I square a square root, I would just be left with the inside, which is a 5. And I would end up at the same answer. So whichever way floats your boat, whichever way you comprehend, work it out that way. I'm going to move on to D2 before I stop this video. D2, we get a little bit more complicated. Again, D is still dealing with the square roots. And again, all of this you will see in your IXL Algebra 2 H3. So D2, my problem is I have a 5i in the square root of 7 times negative 3 in the square root of 7 minus 2i. Minus 2i. Okay. Okay. So again, we're going to put our like parts together. This 5i in the square root of 7 needs to be distributed to both terms in the parentheses. So the 5 times the negative 3 gives me negative 15. The I has nothing to multiply with, so it just falls down. The square root of 7 times the other square root of 7 will make the square root of 49. All right? Which we will simplify in a minute, one thing at a time. So now I'm going to send it on to the second part. The 5i square root of 7 times the negative 2i. The 5 times the negative 2 gives me negative 10. The I has another I to combine with. That's going to be an I squared. And the square root of 7 has no one to play with, but it's still there. All right? So if we simplify this, I know that the square root of 49 is the whole number 7. So this negative 15 is multiplied by this 7. That's going to give me negative 105, and my I is still there. Still there. All right, over here, I squared, we know, is actually a negative 1. So my negative 10 times a negative 1 is actually a positive 10, right? These two are actually a positive 10, and the square root of 7 will just drop down. All right, that's all the simplifying I can do, but I need to write it in proper form, in standard form, which means that the real number has to come first. The I's always come second. So I'm not changing up any signs. I'm just rearranging the order. I'm just going to put my positive 10 in the square root of 7 first, and my negative 105i comes second. And that is my answer. All right.